What's up guys? In today's video I'm going to teach you and I'm going to show you how to create an AI for the data that we generated in the previous video. As you know, we are creating a Python bot with an AI. This is the second bot that we create like this, but now the bot is not going to be as it was before. Like now, instead of using a neural network, we are going to use a decision tree. Decision trees are very good. Like we usually just have heard about neural networks, but there are a lot of type of models that are amazing, and decision trees is just one of these. So we are going to use that, and indeed, yeah, we are going to do that. So first of all, as always, let me show you the GitHub. So here in my GitHub, if you come to Coba trading bot, well, not the trading bot, sorry. So Coba 1, repositories. Here you have AI MACD RSI and EMA bot. So this is the bot. Here you have everything. So also here you have the AI file in which you have the code that we are going to generate right now, that we are going to implement, to develop. So here you have lots of comments in Spanish and English, so everyone understands this. Perfect, so let's get to this. So what is the first thing that we have to do? The first thing that we have to do is to open the Visual Studio Code. Here you can see that I have some things prepared. Let me hide this. Have some things prepared. Like for example, this is the file generated, and indeed this is a shorter one because if I use the entire file, it will take a lot of time. So I made it shorter and now it only has 826 lines. Perfect. So let's start creating that AI, that decision tree. How do we do this? First of all, we need to open here the Visual Studio Code and now create a file, ai.py. So here in this file, we are going to import several things. So for example, we are going to import pickle. And what is pickle for? Pickle is going to allow us to store an object in a file. Indeed, we are going to store the decision tree object in the file. Perfect. Another thing is that we are going to use pandas as PD. Pandas is a library that allows us to manage and go through these files, these datasets in an easier way. So we are going to use pandas, and now we are also going to use a sklearn tree, and we are going to take as decision tree classifier. And indeed, I think I haven't. Okay, this I'm wrong. Like, oh my god, I'm very used now to JavaScript, so I'm using that. Perfect. So now we have this, and now what we are going to do is that we are going to put here a file name, which is going to refer to the file in which we have the data. So here we are going to put string called a string that contains data.csv. Perfect. What is the next thing that we have to do? You have to know one thing, and is that in the way we are doing this, MQL5 is storing the file in a very strange way. Like maybe it's just that I'm not storing everything in the right way, but it is actually storing it with string characters and all that, and we will need to fix those lines with strange characters. Indeed, let me show you what am I talking about. So we are going to put here with open file name, and here we are going to put the encoding that we used with MT5, which is the CP1252. Here, this file, we open it as F, so the file is actually stored here in the F. And now we are going to store all the lines in that variable. So F lines, and we are going to put here read lines. Okay, perfect. So now in this lines variable, we have all the lines of the file. Now, let me show you what I'm talking about. So here we are going to put lines, and we are actually going to print from the first one to the third one. So we are actually now going to print here. Let's put here Python AI, and you're going to see what I'm talking about. Okay, so encoding, this is wrong, encoding, and let's execute. And you can see that we actually have something very strange. Like, we have first this character, then we have this, like it's written in a strange way. The thing is that everything is well written. Like, if you come here to the file, everything is fine. But when we read it with Python, we have these problems. So the solution that I found to fix these problems is to create a simple function that we are going to call fixLine. So this function will receive a line, and now here we are going to receive another variable asking, which is is it a header or not? Remember that the header of the file is the first line. So if we actually go to the first line, you can see that this line is always different because it's the header. So that's why we have here this variable to recognize that. So how do we fix this line? It is very simple. First of all, let's remove the last character, like this character. So let's put here line replace, and let's remove that character. So we are going to replace this character by basically with nothing. So we replace it with nothing. Now that we have this line without that, we are also going to replace another thing. We are going to take this strange character and we are going to replace it with nothing. Perfect. Now what we are going to do is that we are going to split the line split by the comma. So here, by splitting the line with the comma, we will have a list with each element. So for example, this will be an element, this will be another element, here another element, etc. So now that we have here this splitted, we can go through the list and check every element. So now what we are going to do is that, okay, line equals lm replace, but look, this is a comprehensive list, so we are going to put here for lm in line, each element we are going to remove lm replace, and we are going to take this. And indeed, like, you could simply put this before and it will work. But yeah, we are going to do this in a comprehensive way. And okay, now that we have this, we have a list of every element, like every element is fine, but we need to transform the line in floats, because now we will have a list of strings and we want a list of numbers. So how do we change that? It's very simple, but this is when we are going to use this this parameter. You can check that the first line is not a number, so we cannot transform this into a number. So what we are going to do is that, okay, if this is not the header, okay, you can change whatever you want. If not header, well, is header, then the line is going to be changed. So we are going to do another comprehensive list, lm in line, and we are going to do, okay, float, and we transform every element. Perfect. So now we are fine, and at the end we are going to return the line. That's fine. Okay, so now let's check what happens when we try to execute this. So let's put here print fixed line, and we are going to put the same lines 0, here the 1, and here the 2. So let's execute and let's see what happens. Okay, it looks as if we have an error. So here it is telling us that arguments fixed line and replace expected of these two arguments. I had one. So here I forgot to replace it with something, which is nothing. So we put this, we try to execute it again, and okay, we have another element. Okay, this is good. This error is telling us that, hey, you are trying to transform the header into a float, and bro, you cannot do that. So how do we fix this? I forgot that here the line 0 is not a number, it's the header. So here is header, we are going to set it to true, and the true must have a capital letter. So now if we execute, I wish everything is fine. Okay, the first line is fine, but the second ones are not okay. The problem is that also, I forgot, well, I think I told you before that we can see that between each line, like if we do not fix the line, so for example, if we again print the first 3 lines, the second one, every odd number of line, well, even number of line, we have an empty line, so we have to fix that as well. So let me show you that. So if we put this, you're going to see that here we don't have anything. So we have to ignore these lines. So, okay, now this fixed line function is okay. This is working fine. What we have to do is take into account all that. So how do we do it? First of all, to not have the previous error, we are going to store the header here, and we are going to say, okay, fixed line, and this is going to be the first one, lines, and its header is going to be true. Now we have here the header. Perfect. Okay, now let's store the data. So let's put here data, something like this, and let's iterate through the data. For I line in, let's enumerate each lines from the second one, well, the third one, because the second one, as you saw, is an empty string. So from the third one to the last one, we are going to do that if we are in an even line, and to check if it is even, just check if the module of 2 is 0. So if it is even, we, and the line, also to check, we are going to check that it is not this, then what we are going to do is that we are going to append to the data, append to the list, the result of fixing that line. So here we put line, that's it, fine. So now let's execute, and this should be fine. Okay, it executed without any kind of issue. So if we later try to print the data, let's put here print data, and we can put this here, and let's just print the first 10 lines. So if we execute and we check now what is happening, okay, we have numbers, and that's okay, that's fine. So now what we can do is to start playing with artificial intelligence and data science. So we are going to create a data frame with pandas. How? We are going to say that df, which stands for data frame, is going to be a pandas. Well, we use the library pandas, and we call data frame. And here we are going to put the data, and here we are going to put the columns, and then the header. I know that there's a function which is like read CSV, which allow us to read the CSV and create the data frame. But since this is having these strange characters, we cannot do that directly. We have to fix it a little bit. That's why I haven't done that at the beginning. Okay, so now that we have this, what we are actually going to do is that, okay, let's check if everything is fine. So for example, let's print the data frame, and okay, let's see. And what we are going to do is that, okay, we have this here, which is fine, but actually we are going to check right now the types. So we are going to put here the types, and let's see, to check the files. So you can see that here the class is a float. That is not bad, but we could change this to another type. So for example, here, instead of a float, we could have an integer. So we save a little bit of memory. So how do we change the type of this last column? What we are going to do here is that, okay, df, and we are going to use the header, and we are going to say, okay, from the header, go to the last item, which is the class, and now I want you to say, okay, again, we are going to do the same, the header, and I want this as type, and we are just simply going to put a string which is int32. Perfect. So this will change the type. So if we now print the type df the types, we execute, and let's see what is happening. Oh, you can see the difference. Here you have float 64, and here you actually have int32. So we have done this correctly. So we are about to finish because we don't have too many things to do. We just we are just going to create right now the decision tree. And how do we create it? Very simple. Decision tree classifier, and that's it. This is just a constructor. So you call the constructor, and now here you have the decision tree. But the problem is that you need to train the decision tree with some data. So how do we actually do that? First of all, we need to separate the data, and we need to separate it in a way that we have the, in this case, is going to be the X, all the attributes, and then here we have the class. So how do we do this? X are going to be the attributes, and here we are going to say, okay, data frame drop. So it takes whatever we take, whatever we say to take. So, well, to take out, it will not change the data frame, don't worry, but we will have it here. So we want from here X drop class, and we're going to say axis 1. Okay, so you can see that now what we have actually done is that, okay, we have removed the class from the data frame. So here we have all the data frame, but we are missing the class. That is good because now we can do the following. We can say that, okay, the expected value, which is going to be the Y, is going to be df, and we are simply just going to put header -1, the last one, which is the class. So now let's print the Y, which is the result expected, the class, and let's check if we have the class. We have the class. That is perfectly fine. So now we need to train the decision tree. How? dt, remember this is the decision tree, we are going to use here fit, and we need to send the X and the Y. That's it. With this function, well, with this call, we are going to train the decision tree. What we are going to do next is to store it in a file. How? Super simple, guys. We are going to open a file. So we are going to, for example, call it dt model pkl, and we are going to open it in a mode which is write binary, and this is going to be opened as f. So now we can say, okay, pickle dump, this is going to store everything there in the file, the object dt in the file f. As simple as that. So now let's execute and let's see if we create a file here. So let's wait. Okay, I forgot to save. That's very nice. So let's remove everything. Let's print. And indeed, I have realized that this is too big. Okay, so we have here now this file. Of course, you cannot read it because it's binary, but we are actually doing what we expected. So one last thing that I want to show you is that, okay, this is to store everything, but how do I load something? Very simple. With open, and here we are going to put now the dt, well, we are going to use actually the same name, pkl wb as f, and now we are going to load the object. So for example, we can say dt is equal to pickle load, and we just simply have to send the file. Perfect. Why am I using with instead of, I don't know, just putting open? Because once Python goes out from this, this indentation, it will automatically close the file. So that is nice. So yeah, that's how you load the model, but this is how you save it, this. So yeah, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you understood, and if so, give it a like, share, subscribe, and see you in the next one.